just those of us that are here, remember to turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. And we will take a roll call. Members absent, Commissioner Cunningham, Vice Chair Ragland, and Commissioner Moser. And all other members are present. We do not really have anyone out there, but if anyone does want to speak on an agenda item, please submit a request to our assistant, Jennifer, and then she'll let you know when is the appropriate time. We'll go ahead and start with item number 4, reviewing the minutes from our November 30th meeting. Everyone should have a copy of that.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay.
I second.
All right, a motion is made to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passed. We'll now move on to item number 5, staff presentation by Director Anderson. And she'll discuss the text amendment that is on the agenda tonight.
Good evening, Commission members, and this is a continuation of a public hearing on a text amendment for the following ordinance chapters: Chapter 17.28 R-10 Single Family Residential, Section 17.28.020 Use Requirements, Chapter 17.40 AR Agricultural Residential, Section 17.40.020 Use Requirements Permitted Uses, Chapter 17.44 C-MH Conventional Manufactured Home, Section 17.44.030 Use Requirements, and Chapter 17.46 MHD Manufactured Home Development, Section 17.46.020 Use Requirements. The Planning and Zoning Commission will need to provide a recommendation to the City Council on these text amendments, along with a statement of the Commission's reasons for the recommendation. And this is a continuation of a public hearing. So on November 30th, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing and discussed this agenda item. The Commission decided to continue this item to the next scheduled meeting when more members are present before making a decision. And I put in the memo to refer to the draft minutes for those members who were not here to get an idea of the discussion at the November 30th meeting. Again, Lachey Bruckner had approached City Council to request that potbelly pigs be allowed within the City of Safford. Currently, the City of Safford does not allow live swine or pigs within the city, with the exception of the AR Agricultural Residential District when part of a youth project. And the City Council directed staff to bring this issue to the Planning and Zoning Commission for discussion. And on October 19, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission had a meeting. The Commission heard a presentation by Lachey Bruckner. She said she's going to be here, but she might be a little late, and directed staff to draft a text amendment to allow potbelly pigs within the city limits with some provisions, which include that they are limited to 2 and they have to be spayed or neutered. Licensing, similar to dog licensing, was also discussed at that meeting. Lachey Bruckner completed a text amendment application on October 21st, so this is an applicant-driven text amendment to our zoning ordinance, and she is requesting that potbelly pigs be allowed in the City of Safford as a customary household pet. And then you have reference in your materials to the dog licensing section. So we have 4 districts for consideration. If you look through your materials, also it would be a discussion about which, if any, of the districts are listed. And I can go over those if you need to on the zoning map. And then also it shows in red that that would be the actual language in the code. So for an example, in each of the districts, and we can discuss which districts you may or may not want to see potbelly pigs allowed. But it would be that up to 2 Vietnamese potbelly pigs would be allowed as customary household pets, provided that males are neutered and females are spayed. And with that, if you want to open it up to discussion amongst the commission members, and I can answer any questions if you have any.
And Mr. Dameron is here as well, right? If we have any
Yes,
questions.
the animal control officer. I hope he heard all that.
Did you hear her presentation?
heard it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so do you want us to discuss now, or do I need to close?
If you don't have any questions for me, well, I would suggest that you ask questions of our animal control officer during
Okay.
this part, and then you can open the public hearing and close the public hearing, and
Okay.
then continue your conversation.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I do have a
For-
question. Currently, is there a facility that would be able to house a Vietnamese potbelly pig should one bite somebody or get loose?
No, sir, there is not.
And if that is the case, what would happen to said animal?
That animal will be turned over to the livestock inspector, and then they would take it from there.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions for Mr. Dameron on licensing? All right, then we will go ahead and close the regular meeting and open up to the public hearing. Do we have any public comments? No? Okay, so we're gonna close, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
And we can still discuss this when we get to the.
After you,
Yes,
yes.
then we'll discuss, that way we don't discuss, we just hear from you, hear from the
Yeah.
public, yeah. Okay, do you have a motion?
A motion to close the public.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
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 Aye, okay. Actually, is Ed on the phone?
I don't think so.
Okay, John, Moser, are you on there? Do you hear us? I mean, not Moser, Figueroa, John Figueroa?
I'm here. Yeah,
You-
John's
Okay,
here.
all right, I just wanna make sure, cause I wasn't hearing anything. Okay, so we closed our public hearing. Now we'll open up, for the commission to discuss and review and ask questions of Director Anderson. And does anyone have any questions? I guess, I wasn't here last meeting, and I have kind of gone through the minutes, but does anybody remember what any of the main concerns, were there any concerns?
I've had some time to think again about some concerns about the conventional manufactured home districts. I'm just a little concerned because pigs by nature are rooting individuals, rooting animals. They like to root and dig. I'm not so sure that in a manufactured home district would be a place for them. Thoughts?
My concern, and I don't know if this was discussed, but my concern would be lot size. Most of these properties in this zoning are gonna be smaller lots, whereas the agriculture usually is the bigger lots.
Mm-hmm.
And these are animals that I would think would be similar to other livestock with this attracting flies, and I just feel like, to me, lot size is a concern.
I have a comment. One of the things that I looked at, and I read through all of this stuff, and I know I love my pets and animals, but when I look at this in the state of Arizona, and I look here and see that Coolidge and Flagstaff and Gilbert and Glendale and Mesa, City of Peoria, Tempe, Tucson, and Wilcox, they allow it. And I think we're more of a rural area overall than all of them. And those are metropolitan areas. And so I just think there should possibly be some type of consideration if it's working for those people. Now, and I heard the comment that we don't have any place if they bite or do anything, but my understanding from the information we received is they are a little bit different. I think if we limit it to 2 and there should be some consideration. Now, as far as if it would be in all of them or just the agriculture or whatever, I think that's something to look at too. I definitely would think that they should be allowed in the agriculture, if no other place,
Right.
just because of the fact that I've had bulls and cows and horses and everything else, and I don't think that, pot-bellied pigs are gonna draw any more flies or cause any more problems than a wild bull. So, that's my comments for discussion.
Are they currently allowed in agriculture? They are, aren't they currently?
No,
Or
Only,
no?
only as a youth project, so like a, 4-H project or
Yeah, the
Even
ci-
for,
Eagles, is it Eagle Scout?
The city doesn't currently have anything on the books about a potbelly pig.
even for agriculture properties?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Only in association with a youth project.
and if I could just add one more comment, please. I don't know if, when we say, for example, Mesa allows 2 pot-bellied pigs as pets. Tucson allows 2 pot-bellied pigs as pets. Maybe that's in one certain area in Tucson, or I don't know if it's a zoned area like agriculture or maybe not manufactured homes. I don't know. Maybe there could be a lot size that you had to have a certain amount of space. I don't know that. And then maybe the enclosed area or the area in which they are, where you maintain them, would be a consideration. That's my comments.
So we're looking tonight at 4 different zonings: single-family residential, agricultural residential, manufactured homes, conventional and manufactured homes, development. So 4 different zonings.
That's correct, Madam Chairperson. I would recommend that the manufactured home development, those are our manufactured and mobile home parks, that those be excluded and you let them self-regulate.
Because
what
those
they
are
do.
much smaller lots normally, right? A manufactured home development is maybe 60 feet wide.
Yeah, even if it's that large, yes. So like Lexington Pines, and then we have another one on 8th Avenue, north of Thatcher Boulevard.
And then on our,
And then so CMH would be, oh, you pulled the map down. Oh, sorry.
And I can go back to that too.
so single-family residential lots, they really could be any size. I mean, you'd have some 1-acre lots, you could have some, quarter acre. The single-family residential is gonna be a mix of different lot sizes.
It is gonna be a mix of different lot sizes, and it also includes, the R110 is 10,000 square feet, but it also includes the R16 district, which is 6,000 square feet. So
Which is a lot smaller.
yeah, it kind of refers back to the R110.
And then agriculture, what would those lot sizes be like?
At minimum 1 acre.
Minimum, okay. I do see in this packet, it might have been part of last November's packet, where it does talk about different cities that allow
I have it up here,
potbelly pigs. So I would like to know the difference between, so apparently there's different types of potbelly pigs, because some of them say Vietnamese potbelly, like it's a specific breed of the potbelly. Over half of them say miniature pig. So can we get clarification on what's the difference between a potbelly pig, a Vietnamese pig, and a miniature pig?
the research that I did, there was like 14 different species. So, Lachey Bruckner is here if she wants to maybe
That would be
provide
great.
some of her expertise and clarification to the commission.
All right, would you please state your name and thank you for sharing your knowledge, because I would like to learn more about this.
Yes, my name's Lachey Bruckner, and I appreciate you guys for having me. Yeah, one of the difference between the Vietnamese potbelly pigs and other miniature style pigs is some miniature breeds have been bred with like wild pigs, some are half breeds with hog size versus miniature pigs, so they've made their own like miniature classic pig size. The Vietnamese is a particular breed that is straight from Vietnam. They have only been in the Americas since the 1980s, 1990s, and they've only ever been viewed as a pet. There's no part of them that are like hog style or the farm eating pig and things like that. So there's no difference with them. They're 100% bred to be pets. Most people that have potbelly pigs as pets actually keep them in their home like a dog. As far as rooting things, I have seen such toys being made for rooting. As long as they have access to outside, they don't root any particular thing. A lot of times if they smell grubs or certain roots and stuff in the yard, they'll root for it. So they do need that ability. So as long as they have a decent sized yard, I do agree with what you guys are saying, like apartments, mobile homes, those are probably not quite big enough. But as long as you have a decent sized little yard, just the same you would for a dog, they would get plenty of their rooting and things like that. So they do need both outside. I keep mine personally 100% outside in like a dog run, just like some people do with their dogs. I've actually tried to get mine to come inside. It's just as particular ones, they don't care for it, but I have seen a lot of them that love it. They sleep on the couch with the dogs and things like that. So as far as the Vietnamese potbelly pig, there are a lot of specific traits to them. They're usually always black or pink. Even the pink ones will always have some form of dark spots. The spots are straight sizes to the Vietnamese potbelly pig, as well as like the type of back and the size snout and ears and things like that. So they are a little bit more designed as pet. They are one of the smaller. People actually confuse them with the concept of a teacup pig, which are baby potbelly pigs. There's a big misconception, and that's one of the reasons why I'm out here doing this. I know a few of you might have heard me a little bit, but I want to educate on these little animals because they're not going to stay the size of a Chihuahua dog, which a lot of people believe that that's the concept as well. So I do want to clarify that a Vietnamese potbelly pig does get to about knee height and will weigh anywhere from 100 to 200 pounds. Each pig is different based on bone stature and things like that, but a lot of times if you see a potbelly pig over that weight limit, it could be a health issue as well, because people tend to overfeed pigs due to concept of it's a pig. So I do again want to educate on all of that, and potbelly pigs are kind of their own little breed. There's not really I guess breeders don't really classify. That's why most places say miniature pig, because unlike, say, a dog breeder that would have the different breeds set up, they don't. A lot of times they can be mixed bred between different small potbelly pigs. Mine are, I got from a lady that actually rescued the potbelly pigs. Come to find out that both of them, they were straight Vietnamese potbelly pigs, and so that's how I know mine are. So it is a little different versus, like you said, there are different classifications of different mini pigs. And that's, I think, due to the fact that some breeders will interbreed them. And so it's not necessarily that all mini pigs are that way, but some can show bigger sizes due to mixed breeding.
Okay, so is a Vietnamese potbelly pig considered a miniature pig?
Yes, ma'am.
It is, okay. Can I ask a question about licensing?
Sure.
Mr. Dameron, can you hear me?
Yes.
So if there was like a licensing component to this, what would you recommend? Would it just be to say like miniature pig or Vietnamese pig? Like, is there a way for you to tell what you're licensing?
No, there isn't. This was all passed by the city council back years ago about there are no swines or pigs of any kind allowed in the city limits, and they passed that years ago. We had no issues with it when people would call and said they have them. They would just be asked, but I would be told them they must be getting rid of them in the city limits, and they would do so. But
So if you had to go and ask someone to remove the pig, was it usually because a citizen had complained?
Right.
And do you know, like, what they felt the problems were, or what were the?
But the problem the last problem I got was the complaints of the smell, and then damaging their trees through the fence on their property, and they just didn't like it, and they were quite upset about it.
Okay. And if there were to be an option to license these pigs, do you have any recommendations on that?
No, I don't, because I haven't had to deal with the licensing stuff like that. That would have to be taken up with people that has done it before.
Okay.
And to license anything in the city limits, but you open a whole another can of worms if they are permitted.
Yeah. Well, and I think, thank you, I appreciate that. And I just think, because there's gonna be confusion between miniature pig and Vietnamese pig, like, how do you know? Do you have a Vietnamese pig or not? I don't know.
And I would like to say, I have mentioned before, in the future, if there ever is a conflict with telling if it's a Vietnamese pig or not, I am always happy to help at any time. Like I said, I want to help the education of these animals, so if there's any way I can help in any way, I definitely would like to. I would like to address the concepts of like what the gentleman on the phone was saying about smell and things like that. Pigs are most of the time very clean, but it takes an owner to make sure they're kept up after, just like any dog or anything like that. So, because if just untaken care of, yes, it can cause issues, but pigs are actually very clean. They don't like that themselves. They will actually choose a single spot within their pen or parameter to use the restroom because they don't like it, unlike a dog that would just go anywhere and everywhere. So that can actually be a problem to the pig's health as well, based on the very animal's health and design structure too. And a lot of times with the rooting thing, you do need to make sure that if an animal is unfixed, they can root at fence edges and things like that to make to want to get out to find a mate and things like that. Both are mine are fixed. I have never had them try to get out of the fence at all, so that's definitely something due to pet ownership rather than the pet itself. Just like a dog can dig holes and get out from under a fence and things like that, it is something that is, again, what I want to educate and make sure people are aware of with their pet.
Okay. Thank you. Do you guys anyone have any other questions?
I don't.
Okay. John, do you have any questions? Mr.
No, I
Fisher?
don't.
Okay.
No,
So-
no, I don't.
Madam Chairwoman, I just want to make a couple points of clarification. So I have provided, as part of your packet, a couple suggested motions, either to recommend or to not recommend. That's on that page 4 and page 5. As I mentioned, the Manufactured Home Development District I don't feel is necessarily a good fit. I also want to point out that this particular applicant, her property is currently zoned C2 Highway Commercial, so she would have to rezone. If this should move forward, this text amendment, and the City Council approve it, then she would have to rezone her property. The only classification that her property fits into for rezoning would be the CMH, Conventional Manufactured Home, which is here on the map. The one area, this is close to where she lives, between 2nd and 1st on 8th Avenue, and so that's the nearest district, and given the size of her lot, that's the zoning district that she would qualify for.
And where are your suggestions are on page 4?
So at the bottom of page 4, it says suggested motions, and that would be the language that you could use, and then you would select the different districts. And also, if you would want these animals to be licensed similar to dog licensing, that's in a different section of the code,
Right.
so it doesn't fall under your purview.
So, when there's a problem with a pet that is allowed for that zoning where maybe they're not cleaning up after the pet and there's a smell? Is there anything that a citizen can do to remedy that?
Yes, they contact our department. It's a code enforcement issue. We have it happen all the time, and then we send them notices of violation that they need to clean up their property.
So there's already like a code that says that you have to keep it clean with your pets?
Yes.
Is this specifically for pets?
Yes, it would be, because it refers back to this, if you look on the top of page 4, animals which are considered customary household pets with the following limitations. And then we have the numbers. But yes, there's a section of a code that references noxious odors, et cetera, and that's used when we get complaints, particularly about, it's generally dogs and dog feces.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better about it, just that if there was a problem, that then there is something that the neighbor could do to get it cleaned up, because I didn't wanna create a problem where there's, gonna be the smell and the flies and somebody's just stuck with it and they can't do anything about it.
Yes,
Agreed.
there is a code enforcement mechanism.
Okay,
And if you don't mind, like I said, with the flies and stuff, like I said, if that starts to become an issue, that's actually part of the animal's health as well, because of the type of animal that they are. It could start to become a health issue as well. So I definitely don't want that for any
Right.
pet.
you don't.
Right.
But we do know
But-
there are
but this is a
pet owners that are
change, a
not
broad change.
responsible and don't take care of them and.
Right, and that's why, like, I'm here, because that's why I said if there's any way I can help to make sure people are aware, make them come see me if they're gonna adopt a potbelly pig, just so they know what they're getting into ahead of time, because education is key for any pet. If you don't know what you're getting into, you won't know how to fix it or how to even start. So I want to make sure that there's education with this as we go forward. And like I said, any way that I can be referenced to or help, I would love to be a part of that.
Thank you. So on this page 4, suggested motions, it mentions duplex and multifamily. Is that part of what?
That's correct. So that's part of the R110 single-family residential district. It also includes by cross-reference the R16 and then the R2A duplex residential and the R2 multiple family residential district.
And so if we approved it in that district, it would then automatically go into those districts as well.
That's correct.
I think that's where I have a concern, is I really don't feel that this is a good pet for an apartment, for multifamily. And I really think that agriculture is the best option, in my opinion, for this type of pet. Definitely not the manufactured home. My recommendation would be to approve it for the agriculture district, the AR zone, and not the others. But I don't know if you guys have any discussions on that, or I kind of do wish that everybody was here so we could get everybody's input.
I kind of have a question. If we were to do it for the residential zoning, could we also put a lot limit exclusion on that? So anything, if they don't have a proper yard size, it could be deemed unfit versus like just kind of like an extension with the pig itself. Like mention like how it mentions up to 2 Vietnamese potbelly pigs provided that they are fixed, and maybe have like a lot limit on there. That way people realize that they can't have it in an apartment, because a lot of people do have their pits, like I said, indoors and leash train them and things like that. But when you've got them so close, like in small apartments, it's still, I believe, not healthy. A regular home with a little yard is perfect for these guys. They don't need a whole lot of space, but I do agree we don't want them like shoved in with, because too much around them could also stress them out. I agree, we don't want to put them in a confined area. It would seem more like a pen versus a yard, if that makes any difference. And so maybe like if we could put a lot size or something like that, or provided has own yard or something along those lines, so they realize that it's not for like a
That
community.
Would be a question for
lot.
Director Anderson, is that an option?
I think that would complicate things, and in fact, her lot is 4,500 square foot, so it's already a small lot. It doesn't meet the CMH minimum requirements, but she is in the C2 zone now, and we have to rezone, and that's the closest zoning that would apply to her particular situation. It's possible I could go back and look and exclude it from certain districts. There's certainly special requirements, and I could go to the other districts and exclude it from certain districts. I think it tends to complicate the situation.
Mr. Figueroa, do you have any input for us or any questions?
Don Figueroa is here.
Has left the conference.
Hello? I think he accidentally hung
Let's see if he calls back in, because without him, we don't have a quorum.
up. Let's get him back.
Time out.
I will try calling his cell. Matt, would there be any other reason why he would get disconnected? Okay. That's not working. Maybe he's trying to reconnect. Let me try his home phone number.
Is this John Figueroa?
Has
Hey.
entered the conference.
Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Pressed the wrong button there when you said, in your comments, I pressed the wrong button. Sorry about
All
that.
right, sorry.
But no, I don't have anything to add to that.
Um,
Only one thing that I heard earlier that was concerned was, there's smaller lots and these, like a mobile home, parks. That's the only thing I have. I can understand that, but, that's the only concern that I had about that. Seemed like we, discussed that already too. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know if anybody else has any recommendations, but, I would recommend that it be approved for the AR Agriculture Residential District, but not the others.
Would you add the licensing to it as well? My only feeling on that is to know where they're at,
True. And
not
is-
for any other reason other
Is
than
that,
that.
if we recommended an approval of this text amendment for one of these zones, would we also then recommend a licensing requirement?
Yes,
Okay.
you would. You would suggest to city council that the planning and zoning commission also recommends that they be licensed. Because like I mentioned, that's a different part of the code that doesn't go before the planning and zoning commission. And I have the language, to recommend, so you could use that exact language to make your motion.
All right, unless we have any other discussion, go ahead.
Do we know if, as I mentioned earlier, the neighboring communities, the metropolitan area cities, have there been problems that you're aware of?
But I haven't gotten that far in
Okay.
depth, as far as the research that we did, or looking at the lot sizes where they may be allowed or may not be allowed.
I also lived in Mesa, and I had never even heard that they weren't allowed or even deemed not pets until I moved down here. So when I started looking into it, pretty much, like I said, as long as you had a little yard, they were classified just like any dog. So even a lot of apartments and stuff, because they can be leash trained like dogs, as long as you took them out, picked up after them, there were no problems. Like he said, the big cities are starting to see them as pets. The only thing I think with education, if we keep it only to agricultural areas, it's still going to slightly confuse it with the fact that they might be more of a livestock pig versus a pet that can be deemed just like the dog or a cat. Because with it being that separate, it still kind of separates their very classification.
True. So currently, a livestock pig is allowed,
Only as part of a youth project.
even in agriculture.
Yes. That's the only place it's allowed, and it's part of a youth project.
Right, and see, I don't want them to think that the Vietnamese pigs are youth projects, because they're
Gotcha.
pets.
No, the thing that I like on the comments that we have and that we talked about last time was the limit of 2, and that they had to be spayed and neutered and that type of thing. I don't want to see a large hog farm started in the city of Safford. That's not what I'm looking for at all. But someone that does have them as pets, if they're taking care of them, but I can see the downsides that we've talked about too, and that kind of concerns me. That how do we maintain it? How do we monitor it? What problems have there been in the past? But having said that, if these other communities have figured out a way to make it work, I don't know that a community like Safford, it's more rural than Mesa or some of the others, and it's worked. It appears to be approved in Wilcox, which is a neighboring community. Maybe there's some way, but they may have restrictions based on the areas that they can do it in. I definitely would support the idea of agriculture, but even at that, I would want to limit the
Limit it to
numbers.
2.
Yes.
Well, and I guess as you talk about, I don't know, just as you're talking, it just kind of made me realize that when it comes to apartments, really that property owner is going to decide what type of pet can be in that apartment. Just like, some of them might not allow even dogs or cats right now, and so it would be up to the owner of the apartment
true.
complex to say no potbelly pigs versus potbelly pigs. So maybe we let them decide.
Yeah, except that I think that if we have a rule that says you can't do it,
No,
then
but
they
that's-
shouldn't be able to do it.
Correct, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is if we did go ahead and pass this as proposed, except for in the manufacturing homes, I'm just realizing that maybe we don't really need to be concerned about apartments, because most likely that apartment owner is gonna say,
No pets
no,
anyways. Yeah,
what pets can come in, you know what I mean?
fair point,
Right. So I guess I'm just saying it might not really be as big of a concern
as we think
as
it
what
is.
I think it is, because that owner of the apartment complex is gonna regulate who can come in with the pet, like what pets can come in. So
Agreed.
I don't know, now I'm kind of leaning towards maybe we
Welcome
just-
to our last 2 meetings.
Yeah. Huh?
Said, welcome to our last 2
Yeah,
meetings.
I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe we do just approve it except for the manufactured homes, only because those are much, much smaller lots, and I do see that there could be potential problems with those smaller lots.
I'm done.
I don't know, what do you guys think?
I mean, it all makes sense. But it's new for the area, and
Yes.
it's always, you don't want to jump in with both feet
Kind of scary.
right away, but I think Ms. Brugner has done a fabulous job of bringing her information with her and her knowledge of the animals. I just wish that all animal owners would be as responsible as her, and that's the hardest part, because they're not going to be. We know that for a fact, but as long as there's things in place that there's a process that neighbors can go through if they do have a problem, I think I'd be okay with 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think so too.
And like I said, if any information in the future, even as part of this, my name being put down as a pig representative, if they want to call for information that way, or even, just my number being given with every potbelly pig that might end up being in the area, or like if someone's, like you said, being registered, once they're registered, they can also receive my information for pig consulting, if you would. So if they ever have questions, I can help problems before they even begin, just due to knowledge. A lot of times knowledge is key with pets, and not knowing is just part of the problem. So if we could even fix that, like I said, I would love to be part of this any way as possible.
I agree with what Lee said earlier. I don't have a concern with you.
Right.
What I have a concern with is down the road, people coming in and just doing what they want to, and not maybe considering their neighbors. And I think we see that with dogs and other animals that get loose and cause problems. And I'm sure in some situations, probably dogs can be more detrimental than these pigs. But
With that statement, I would like to agree, because pigs are a herbivore species. They are not a predatory species. So as far as usually aggression and stuff, if they've been fixed so they're not trying to find a mate, there will be no aggression, no concepts to try and tussle it out with each other and things like that. They're actually very calm, very mellow, because they're meant to kind of just hide and be there. That's why they love to just lay and be petted. That's why they like the cuddle thing, because they are more of a herb species, and to where they're not aggressive like, say, a dog or something, because of the very animal that they are. Say like the canine, where it's got more of an aggressive gene for fighting and animals, things like that.
just one other thing, is there any liability concerns that, as a city, that by us going along with this, that we are going to be bringing or placing on the city, as far as you're aware of, like if they would bring in some type of
Like
new,
disease or something?
a pig virus or something,
I
for
could-
lack of a better way to express myself.
Yeah, I couldn't answer that question. I'm certainly not a specialist on.
No, and
this
I
breed of
realize that, but I
animal,
just
so-
wondered if we're.
Yeah, I don't know.
As far as pigs go, I have looked into a lot of it with due to vets and things like that. Pigs are actually very close to people. They don't carry their own diseases, say like dogs do and things like that. Mine have yet to be sick. They're a very hardy animal. As long as you don't go exposing them to nasty situations, they're actually a very stocky, sturdy animal. I have never heard of, the only thing I've come across with my potbelly pig is there's a little disease when they get that, when they're little, called dippity pig, which it's a nerve thing for their back legs, and it comes over it within about a week, as long as you keep them moving. But it's nothing hereditary, it's nothing, and again, it kind of goes back to care of the animal. As long as you're keeping stuff clean and things like that, those things are very, very rare.
Mr. Dameron, do you have anything to add as far as about diseases from pigs?
I haven't researched a whole lot on the diseases that pigs may carry. I just like to make a comment on that. I don't believe that it should be allowed in the city limits simply because of the problems that we may have. Planning and zoning has got an ordinance down that no hoofed animals are allowed in the city limits unless they were grandfathered in.
Well, and I think this tax amendment would kind of supersede that, like, wouldn't it overrule that?
Yeah, you would be adding a
It went
specific
before the
animal, yeah.
council for their approval.
Correct.
Right, and that's what we're discussing, is should we recommend this to the city council? If we did recommend to the city council And then we also recommend a licensing requirement. Do you have any preference to whether it's gonna be a miniature potbelly pig or a Vietnamese potbelly pig?
No, I just, like I say, I'm not for any of it, and
Okay,
because like I said, we don't know what we're gonna be running into in the future with this, like places that have these, it's agriculture areas like Wilcox and such. We're not an agriculture area for that.
all right, thank you. So these other cities that are listed here, do we know, is this zoning specifically for single-family residents or just for residential? Like, do we know what zones they're allowing them in?
No, we haven't gone that far in depth in the research.
So we know they allow them somewhere, but not necessarily where.
Correct.
So some of them could be agriculture and not single-family.
That's correct.
A lot of the places like in Gilbert and Mesa, they're living there personally. I did not have an agricultural home, and they were allowed. So,
Okay, thank you, Mrs.
thank you.
Bruckner. I think you can go ahead and be seated, and we'll continue to discuss and decide. We've got to make a decision.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know.
All
I'm
right.
trying to really weigh out the differences between what the community as a whole, you know, would be best, and I know we do have pet owners that maybe want this, and also trying to, I don't know, just trying to balance it out, because I think this is a tough one for me.
I feel the same way, and I'm not trying to, I heard what our animal control officer said, and I really respect and feel like we need to listen to what he has to say. I mean that sincerely and genuinely, but when I see Mesa, areas of Mesa and Glendale and places like that that allow it, but I don't want to create a problem for the city of Safford.
Right, and
That's
then
where we're
he's
at.
the one that's gonna be in
And then
charge
he's
of the
gonna be in charge of
licensing.
dealing with it, and so,
And monitoring, are
Right.
they licensed, are they not licensed? And we really see that a lot of cities have it, but we don't know what zone.
exactly.
So is this something that we should maybe one more time table, or do we need to just make a motion? Would it be fair to say that we could try again when everybody's here, or do you recommend that we just go ahead and make a motion?
I would recommend that you go ahead and make a motion, and then it goes to city council, and city council can have the discussion they wish to have, and also could continue the public hearing at the city council level if they wanted to have more information.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that City Council approve a text amendment allowing as permitted use up to 2 Vietnamese potbelly pigs, provided that males are neutered and females are spayed. The Commission recommends this text amendment only in the following districts, citing General Plan Goal Number 1, R110 Single Family Residential District, with also includes by reference R16, R2A, and R2, as well as AR Agriculture Residential District.
And then are you gonna add, okay.
No, just those
That's
two.
it, okay. I second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
motion is approved. Do we need to do a second one to exclude the other manufactured ones, or no?
You have conventional and manufactured home district, and then the fourth one is the manufactured home development district, which is the mobile home parks, manufactured home parks.
So,
I left those out of the recommendation.
Okay.
but do we need to make one now that says we recommend they don't do it in the others?
No,
Or we
but you
just
may
leave it?
want to amend your motion to include
The
the city,
licensing.
consider like having them be licensed.
I will also add to my motion that the city, recommend that the city of Safford have Vietnamese potbelly pig licensed, as mentioned in other animal licensing.
And if I could just comment, is it appropriate? Where our animal control officer hasn't had the experience working with these, that maybe that would be something that we'd even require that it be taken care of at a veterinarian clinic or something of that
License.
nature, so that it would take some of the load off, and they'd have to show that they were vaccinated and all of those types of things too. So that's the
Okay.
city council's decision.
I second the motion that we add the requirement for licensing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And John, did I hear an aye from you on both those? Okay.
Was that 4?
Yep, we got 4 ayes, 4 yeses.
Okay.
Thank you, and Mrs. Bruckner, for your knowledge of information that you shared with us, and, all right, we are now going to move on to item number 8. Staff presentation to review and discuss amendment application for zoning 17-20 relating to hospitals and clinics for large and small animals, kennels, and stables. So Director Anderson.
Give me just a moment. I'm having a problem with my computer loading up here. I have a presentation for you. I just want to make sure this is the most current presentation, because I couldn't load it up from the file.
Should we also thank Mr. Dameron? Will you get that? Thank you, Mr.
Yes, yeah, he-
Dameron. We
yeah.
really appreciate your input tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay on and listen to the rest of the meeting.
But he doesn't need to.
But you don't need to. I think we've asked all the questions that we need, and we've closed the discussion on the pig. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Officer Randy Gammon from Safford Animal Control.
Has left the conference.
So the requested action, this is to hold a public hearing on the following text amendments and provide a recommendation to the city council along with a statement of the Planning and Zoning Commission's reasons for the recommendation. During the October 17th, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission voted unanimously to recommend staff hold a public hearing on November 21st relating to hospital and clinic for small animals and hospital and clinic for large animals. That text amendment moved forward, and City Council voted unanimously to approve the text amendments on January 27th, 2020, and the effective date was February 27th, 2020. Since that date, there have been numerous discussions regarding the text amendment with requests to modify the language, along with adding other uses such as stables and kennels. On December 4th, 2020, staff presented the latest version of proposed text amendments to City Council, and the City Council directed staff to bring the following text amendments to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation. I do want to point out that this is it's a text amendment that's coming from the city, not from a particular applicant, and I'll go over the different text amendments that are being proposed. So in February 27th, 2020, these are the additions that were added to the city code language, and I have underlined certain portions of this that have been brought up in other conversations. So hospital and clinic for small animals and hospital and clinic for large animals, the definition was added. Also, originally in the code, there was a provision in the C2 district that only allowed small animals, did not allow large animals. So the first part we'll go through is the definition section. So the proposed revision of this would be to remove completely the distinction between large and small animals. And so what you have before you is hospital and clinic for small animals would be defined as a facility for the diagnosis, medical, and surgical treatment of animals by a licensed doctor of veterinary medicine, along with the boarding of such animals. Kennel means the commercial boarding, grooming, training, breeding, and sale of dogs, cats, and other small animals. And stable means the commercial boarding of large animals, including barns, stables, corrals, riding arenas, animal training, and riding lessons. I just want to point out right now, in our agricultural district, you can have a stable, but it's for your personal use. So you're not, it's not a commercial use.
No boarding.
Right, of other people's animals at your stable on agricultural zone. Also, there was language that was in the definitions, and this language would be removed, the language that defines animal hospital and animal kennel. Currently, the city code does not allow kennels, has no provision to allow kennels in any of the zoning districts. So in the C2 highway commercial, this is what we had originally. Hospital and clinic for small animals was already in the code, and then we added the language hospital and clinic for large animals. And so this text amendment is to modify that, actually remove that language, and to add this language, which includes hospitals and clinics for animals subject to the following. And this is council direction that I'm presenting to you. 1, being the minimum lot size is 5 acres. 2, being that barns and corrals shall be set back a minimum distance of not less than 20 feet from all exterior property boundaries. 3, that kennels are permitted in association with hospitals and clinics for animals, and all buildings associated with a kennel shall be set back a minimum distance of not less than 20 feet from all exterior boundaries. I want to point out, both for the kennels and stables, that you have to have a hospital and clinic for animals in the C2 district in order to also have kennels and stables. So in number 4, it says stables are permitted in association with hospital and clinics for animals, and all buildings associated with a stable shall be set back a minimum distance of not less than 20 feet from all exterior property boundaries. So that's for the C2 highway commercial district, and I have some maps I'll show you after. For the agricultural district, the current language is we have hospital and clinic for small animals, and then we have hospital and clinic for large animals with some requirements. And that language would be removed completely from the AR agricultural residential district. And what you would have is hospital and clinics for animals, barns and corrals shall be set back a minimum distance of not less than 20 feet from all exterior property boundaries. Also in the AR agricultural residential district, there would be 2 new permitted uses added. 1 would be kennels with a minimum lot size of 5 acres. All buildings associated with the kennel shall be set back a minimum distance of not less than 20 feet from all exterior property boundaries. And also stables will be added with a minimum lot size of 5 acres. And all buildings associated with a stable shall be set back a minimum distance of not less than 20 feet from exterior property boundaries. So you could have a hospital and clinic for animals in the AR district, but there would be no size limitation. But if you wanted to have a kennel, a commercial kennel, or a commercial stable, there would be a size limitation or size requirement that they have to be a maximum of 5 acres. And so I know these maps are difficult to read. This zoning map shows the AR districts. They're in very light blue. I don't have a number of how many there are, but you'll get a better idea because I have the ones that are 5 and 10 acre sizes. And then the commercial districts are in the orange area. So basically the commercial districts pretty much just follow Highway 191 and Highway 70, Thatcher Boulevard. And here's a close-up on the commercial districts within the city, a little easier to see. And so these following 4 maps show parts of the city which have the 5 acre requirement. So for the AR zone, you could have a stable or clinic, I'm sorry, not a stable or clinic, a stable or a kennel only on these properties that are shown in this map, because you have to have at least 5 acres or more. So there's a limited number of properties where this would apply in the city.
Which zoning is that one?
This is the AR zoning.
Okay.
And can I ask a question during the middle of your presentation? Are those all currently just land, or some of those already have buildings on them? Or those are just all that are zoned that match that?
Some have buildings on it. There's the hospital is AR zone. On the bottom left is Discovery Park, so that's basically preserved as open space in the greenhouse and the observatory that's there. And then some of the other properties are vacant properties.
Thank you.
Oops, let's see. And then these are the parcels that are 10 acres. The reason why I have 5 acres and 10 acres, originally it was discussed that they be limited to 10 acres in size, and then that was reduced to 5 acres, but there's really not a lot of change. You can see as I go back and forth between the 5-acre map and the 10-acre map. So this again is the AR district. You could have a hospital or clinic for animals anywhere in the AR district, but if you wanted to have a commercial stable or a commercial kennel, it would be restricted to these properties currently.
Is the commercial restricted to the 5 acres?
Yes, and that will be next. So here you have a map, kind of falling off a little bit there. This is the 5-acre parcels that are 5 acres or more, I'll clarify. So on the 5-acre or more parcels, you can have a hospital and clinic for animals, subject to, again, it has to be 5 acres. You can have kennels when they're in association with the hospital and clinic, and you can have stables when they're in association with the hospital or clinic. So in the commercial zones, you cannot have just a kennel or just a stable, a commercial kennel or a commercial stable in the C2 zone. It would not be allowed. The only time it's allowed is if it's directly in association with basically a hospital or a clinic for animals, a veterinarian facility. Can't get that one to go back down. So, and then this is 10 acres, so you have 5 acres and 10 acres. And with that, I know that's a little confusing. I'll be happy to answer any questions. This is also part of a public hearing. So if you want to open the public hearing up, you can do that and take comments, and then close the public hearing and continue with your discussion.
All right, thank you, Director Anderson. I will open up the public hearing and see if we have any comments from the public. Okay. It doesn't look like there are any comments from the public, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll enter to we need a motion to
A
enter.
motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Figueroa?
Aye.
All right, so we'll close the public hearing. So we're gonna move on to item number 10. We're gonna discuss the text amendment that Director Anderson just presented.
I really like the updated language. I think that the city code sometimes is a little long in the tooth, but I like the clarification. I like the streamlining of it. I also really like the minimum of lot size in both zoning zones. I don't really have a problem with any of the wording as it states.
And there's not any maximum numbers or anything like that we need to be concerned about.
No.
So, but I like the minimum of 5. I think that's great. And the way you define stables and kennels, and we're including that, I think is very good and appropriate.
I agree. So for this text amendment, there's 3 parts. One is the definitions, and one is an amendment to the AR, and one is an amendment to the C2 highway. And the C2 highway has the 5 acre minimum, but AR does not, or they both do?
They both do.
They both do?
Yes.
Okay.
The C2 district basically says that you can't have if you're gonna have a commercial stable and a commercial kennel, it has to be in association
Clinic.
with
With the clinic.
a clinic or a hospital for animals
For the commercial.
in the commercial.
And then-
And there was concerns brought up about, allowing this in commercial, and so,
So then AR, they can still do boarding? Or no?
yes, but they have to be 5 acres.
5 acres, okay,
But they don't have to be tied to a hospital.
Exactly,
okay.
yes.
So you got a big, huge piece of property and you wanna share it with somebody, they can bring their horses over. I think it's all very well written.
And
Yeah.
I do want to point out on page 6, there's suggested motions. This is something new that I'm doing for the commission. So there's a motion to recommend, and there's a motion to not recommend to city council.
I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that City Council approve a text amendment as shown above, citing general plan goal number 1 of the public community service element and goal number 1 of the economic development element.
I would second that.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, Mr. Figueroa, thank you. So motion is approved. Yeah, I can tell that you guys spent a lot of time on that, and I appreciate that, Susan. It was very well written. I think you covered everything. That was great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will, go to projects and updates, item number 11.
I don't have anything new for you. We're kind of right now in, the Thanksgiving, Christmas season. Copper Canyon, there still is a lot of single-family residential building out in Copper Canyon. Mesa Vista is doing its last home there, and I think it's called Terra Bonita 2 is another residential area. There's just 2 homes built there, and they just started on I think maybe it's off of 26 by 8th Avenue, and so they're starting to build residential in that area.
Awesome.
Any updates on the subdivision that we discussed that's off of Relation and 14th?
That has not moved forward as of yet, so that's a Randa Owens project. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I can't think of anything else
I
going
got nothing.
on. Alrighty, we will move on to item number 12, call to the public. I don't think we've had anybody submit. We do have one, okay, we do have somebody who would like to speak, so, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and have Mr. Phelps, please, Dr. Phelps, please go ahead and approach and state your name and we'll hear from you.
I'm Dr. J.A. Phelps, P.O. Box 629, Sonora, Arizona. I was originally here about the text amendment business, but she handled it very well. I would like to say I was one of the first veterinarians in the United States to do surgery on a potbelly pig. When I did my internships, one of the clients of that hospital was the original importer of them, so I had to go learn about them. And I'm actually in the books about potbelly pigs. You might want to look up the term zoonotic diseases of pigs, and maybe even define what vaccinations that you want them to have before they're allowed in the city, because they can transmit rabies like any other mammal. And there are numerous zoonotic diseases of pigs. So, and I love pigs, and they are, most of what she said was very true. They're cleaner than a dog.
But there's vaccinations for them.
There are vaccinations for
that could be
pigs.
part of the licensing requirement.
And you may want to do that. You may want to look into what you want, and get somebody that's more of an, it's been almost 30 years since I've worked on them, so, I'm outdated on those. But you may want to get some information from somebody that's more up to date on the pig vaccines.
Okay.
And Dr. Thrasher down in Wilcox, or Dr. Karchner in Benson might be good. Well, Dr. Debbie may deal with them. I'm not real sure.
Awesome.
But anyway, what I came here originally for was handled well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
We recommend that
Yeah, can-
information be shared with the city council.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
can we
think
put
that
that in
will-
the minutes to make sure that that's there shared with the city council?
And I think that's part of why we wanted to add the licensing component, because
Exactly.
the licensing would require the vaccines, and that would be a protection to the community, so, okay, thank you. All right, next scheduled meeting is to be determined. I'm sure Susan will come up with something. She's kept us busy all year.
I do have a rezoning application, and I'm moving through the process very quickly, and so that may be before you on January 18th.
Yes. All right, thank you. And I failed to recognize our city manager who is here, so thank you
Welcome.
for coming. Appreciate you
Thank you.
coming. I'm glad to see that everybody here is healthy, and hopefully we all have a good holiday season and stay healthy.
Yes.
And next time we meet, hopefully we all can be here.
Exactly.
Have we heard from, Mr. Ragland? Ed, how's he doing?
Not recently, I haven't talked to him
I
recently.
spoke with him midweek, and he actually felt pretty good. He wasn't having severe symptoms, so that
Okay,
was good.
Good.
Awesome, that's good.
Very good. All right, you guys,
Want to wish everybody happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks for the card.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
You do a great job,
Yeah, you do.
Tracy.
Really.
You
You handle it well.
you really do.
She does, doesn't she?
Aye.
Is this John Figueroa?
Has left the conference. You are currently the only.